Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to League Racing TV here for round number 7 of the CTC Console Championship. My name is, of course, Michael Edwards, going to be taking you through the action here tonight. And as you can see, round number 7 takes us to Budapest for the Hungarian Grand Prix. And of course, looking at the track in question, a very interesting circuit, not many overtaking opportunities, 4.3 kilometers, 2.7 miles in length, 2 DRS zones, one down in towards turn number 1 and one in towards turn number 2, 14 corners, and a very high chance of spinning on the curbs, let's say. Of course, Hungary notorious for the curbs being very treacherous around here. Of course, the curbs at turn 2, turn 4, turn 5, all posing serious threats. But of course, looking at the track, looking at the areas where you can get the overtakes done, of course, turn number 1 is going to be the key overtaking area. And maybe if we get a good run out of turn 2 through turn 3, you can have a look in towards turn number 4. Could we be seeing any side-by-side action going up the hill towards turn 4? Only time will tell. And of course, the final real overtaking opportunity is, of course, at turn number 12. So you come into the final sector of the circuit. Turn number 12 will pose a key overtaking opportunity for the drivers out there. That is for sure. Of course, looking at the standings and the results from the last time we went racing here in the Console Championship, it was, of course, Tony, Arish and Dirk making it a 1-2 for Shazoo Cedar Igniters, and of course RWB for Ground Effect Spec Racing completing the podium. Lifeboat they get in P4 with Tiago and Ticho in P5 and P6, Medal in P7, Ivan P8, Ryderdal in P9, and of course Typical rounding out the top 10 with of course Schumacher, Vanorundi, Rudney, Rev Rob, KJ, Julian, and Giddens, and Justin being the last of the drivers. Of course, Julian, Giddens, and Justin all DNFing from the race. And of course, what that has done in terms of the championships, of course, looking at the Drivers' Championship first and foremost, you can see Volokongan is 6 points ahead of Dirk and Oscar there in P4 on 42 points. And no surprise, I mean, what is about to happen now when we go over to the team championship. But Kevin Zumberg there in P3, he's had a good season so far for EVR. Chicho for TR10 in P5. And then, of course, Sido for ET8 in P6, Tiago P7, Lifeboat P8, RWB P9, and, of course, Typical rounding up the top 10 there. But in terms of the Teams Championship, which is the one everyone is focused on, Shazoo Cedar Igniters top the table at the moment with 206 points, 66 points clear of ET8, who are chasing them down in second place. Of course, ET8 have got a lot of work to do in the second half of the season to bring that gap back down. And of course, that 1-2 last week, 2 weeks ago for Shazoo has absolutely bolstered the lead even further. I mean, 66 points is massive at this stage in the championship. TF10 currently in third on 120 points. 20 points off the back of ET8. And of course, we got Evolution Racing in fourth, Legacy Racing in fifth, Ground Effect Spec Racing in sixth, with Ilium Motorsports in seventh. Eighth is, of course, All Elite Racing Team, Bravo Racing Club in ninth, 1 point ahead of Azuri, who round out the field. And of course, looking at the driver lineup here tonight, Shazoo come through with Tony Reich and Volokongan, so they're two highest scoring drivers. Well, obviously the race winner from last week, and of course their highest scoring driver so far this season, going to be taken to Hungary. And of course we got Oxcu and Alex Marciano there for ET8. Alien Motorsports going to be represented by Ivan and Rev Rob. Evolution Racing Team coming through with Lucas and KJ. TF10 coming through with Astala and SNX. And of course we got All Elite Racing Team with Giddens and Melwin, Azuri Esports with Daniel and Justin, and then of course Ground Effect Spec Racing with Max and RWB, and of course Legacy Racing with Diego and Typical. No lineup for, unfortunately, Bravo Racing Club here tonight. But we will see what happens in the remainder of the season. Of course, we will go through the calendar at a later stage in the proceedings, as we are going to bring up real quick. We are going to bring up, of course, the sponsors and everything for tonight's action. So there we go. Right, boom. Ladies and gentlemen, massive shout out to Pivot Media, of course, the marketing agency offering graphic and video designers to elevate your brand and business. Check out their X in the description below, and of course to Virtual Setup Engineer, the brand new setup shop for all your setup needs, where they offer setups for all the tracks plus a custom chat box so you can customize the setup to your driving style. And of course to Gridfinder as well. Well, guys, without further ado, I mean, qualifying is underway. There's no drivers out on track as of yet, but I think we head out to the circuit right now. We got 17 drivers in, so we are missing a few at the moment, as we look to see what is going to be happening. As we got the movement there in the garage, so we will get to see our first drivers out on track in just a moment's time. And we will be getting underway very shortly. And there we go. There is the sound. As I did notice that we didn't have no sound coming through, which is my apologies there, guys. But the first man out on track is Ivan for Alien Motorsports. So we're going to see what Ivan is going to be doing on his flying lap. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of lap times these guys are going to be capable of. Honestly, I mean, we're not going to see anything spectacular here in Q1, I don't think. I think we're going to be waiting for Q2 and Q3 for the lap times to really ramp up. But right now, we have Ivan on the set of the Inters, and his teammate Rev Rob has gone out on the set of the soft compound tyres, which indicates to me that he's not feeling too confident about getting through into Q2. Now, of course, around obviously qualifying here in the console championship, it is, of course, a full qualifying session where obviously Q1, the top 15 proceed into Q2, and then, of course, at the end of Q2, the top 10 will proceed into Q3. And all these drivers are going to be hoping to get themselves into Q3 to fight for that pole position point at the end of qualifying. But we're on board now with Ivan as he comes down in towards turn number 1. Of course, on the set, the intermediate tyres, so we're expecting Rev Rob to go quicker in behind, and we will see what he does a little bit later on. But on board with Ivan as we come down in towards turn number 2. Trying to rotate the car with not much grip on those intermediates. Coming through turn 3 now as we climb up the hill towards turn number 4. Obviously not flat out on the intermediate tyres, but definitely is going to be close to flat out through there on the soft tyres. But through turn 5 into the 6-7 chicane, where it's so easy to run a little bit deep and absolutely destroy your lap. Now through to 8, 9 and approaching turn number 10, and of course now turn number 11, where you're going to launch yourself onto this straight down in towards turn number 12, a key overtaking opportunity right there down the inside through turn 12. Now in towards turn number 13, as he is just going to try and rotate the car through. And the final corner at turn 14, very crucial to get a good launch out of here, because you can gain time to the line very easily. So Ivan there popping up the provisional lap time of a 21 flat on the set of the Inters, but we're going to see Rev Rob actually go slower on the set of the soft compound tyres. I wonder if that is a visual glitch. Maybe he is on the intermediates. Maybe he is on the intermediates and has a visual glitch on our end, as Daniel has unfortunately validated, as has Lucas, as has Justin, who's gone for a bit of a spin there on the curbs. I did warn the drivers at the top of the stream, the curbs around here can chew you up and spit you back out if you take too much rum. Very interested to see what Rev Rob has done. If he is on the set of the soft tyres, then maybe... Okay, yeah, he's 5 seconds. He's 5.5 seconds up. Okay, he's had a bit of a moment somewhere. Or he's done an installation lap before going for it. Which is not a bad call, to be fair. But coming through the final corner now is Rev Rob. He was 5.5 temps up, and that is the back end dropping on him. Coming out of the final corner, lighting up the rear tyres, and around he goes. And he'll fall by the wayside as he'll have to pick himself up and go again. Not only that, he was running out of fuel as well, so he's going to be trundling along. On board right now with Tony Arish for Shazoo, as he comes through the chicane, riding the curbs lovely in that middle sector there, Tony Reich, and of course he's going to be hoping to put on pole position later on in the session, but right now it's all about getting through to Q2. And right now Tony Reich, oh, that was very close on the track limit there, almost picking up an invalidation through turn 12, but Tony Reich does get away with it as we come through the final corner with the Shazoo driver. Does not drop it on the exit, and he does a 1:15.4. Now we'll come through the final corner. He's going to get a lap time on the board as we have a migrating host issue. Is that me dropping out? I think that might be me dropping out. Huh. Right, well that's not good then. I mean, I think I've had a bit of a wobble on the internet. I mean, my connection did drop a bit, and I believe I did drop some frames as well. So let me know in the chat, did the stream lag for you guys as well? Because I will have to try and get myself back in the lobby ASAP. But I'm quickly going to check to make sure it is just a me issue and not a whole lobby issue. I believe it might just be a me issue. If it is, it's no worries. We can get ourselves back in just a moment's time. So we will be trying to get ourselves back into the lobby as soon as possible. Shouldn't be too long for us to get back in. Obviously we do have someone on the invite already to get us back in, and there we go. So no need to cut away. We will be back in the lobby ASAP, and we will get ourselves going once again. Of course, we did see a few lap times come through. Of course, the biggest lap time thus far was a 1:15 flat, which of course was set by Tony Reich for Suzuki Igniters, and we're going to see if he's still holding that time right now, or if we've got any other drivers that have come out and have bested that time. Of course, that would be into the 1:14s if the drivers do best it, which is possible, but maybe we're not going to see a 1:14 until Q2, potentially Q3, as we are just about getting back in. And we should be okay. We should be good, and we should be back right now. Of course, no new lap times have come in, fortunately, so we haven't missed anything in terms of lap times out there. But of course, more drivers are now out on the track, and going to be looking to get their lap times on the board. So we have just managed to get through, as there goes Astala up into P1 with a 14.6. So already I was thinking maybe we might not see a 14 until Q2. Never mind that, we're seeing the mid 14s right now. TF10's drivers looking pretty good at the moment. KJ with a 15.4. As we got Ivan coming through the final corner, as he is about to get his lap completed, and he goes up to a 15.4 just ahead of KJ. As we got Lucas crossing the line, he goes ahead of Ivan. And now we got RWB for ground effect spec racing to the line, and he goes up into P4, 15.1 for him. As we got Volakongan to the line, P3 for Volakongan. And then we got Max going up into P8, as we got a whole listly of cars coming through the final sector right now. As I believe we got couple of cars who are on the outlap. I believe Digio is coming through the final corner on his outlap. Actually, I believe he's done an installation lap. So we're seeing drivers do the installation laps as well, which is very interesting, as through the final corner is coming one of the Alpines of Alex Marciano, and he goes up in the P4 with a 14.8. So ET8 on the board and getting out there, as we got Oxcrew who has just come out of the pits as well. We're currently on board with Diego. There's no we. It's not Diego. There's no we. But we got Digio through turn 5 now. And through the heart of the middle sector he will come. And now, of course, he's been looking for a much improved lap time. He did a 1:29.7, and he's 12.7 up on his lap time. So right now this is looking like a 17 flat, but he's more time in the final sector to gain for the LR driver here tonight. Through the final corner he'll come. And to the line is going to be a 15 flat. And that will get him through right now into P6. But will it be safe to get him through into Q2? Tony Reich is done with the session, as we got 5 minutes remaining. And I'm not going to lie, I think if you're Tony Reich, I don't want to say you're absolutely safe right now. I really don't want to say you're safe. I think if you're in the 14s, you're probably safe, but I mean, I don't know. It's interesting because obviously a lot of the drivers, like Daniel, KJ, and Max, and of course Ivan, I mean, 4 temps could be found at the end of the session, and that could get them ahead of Tony Reich. And of course, the likes of RWB, Lucas, typical, would have to, and what's called Digio, would have to go back out and try to make sure that they don't drop into the bottom. Obviously, Justin and Rev Rob yet to set a competitive lap time. Their lap times, of course, done on the intermediates, as we've got Oxcrew there with a 53.3 in the middle sector. And then, obviously, we've got Gittins and Oxcrew now on their flying laps. And their first flying laps of the session. It's probably their only flying laps of the session, as well as the ET8 driver now comes through the final corner. And what's it going to be for him? As a 15 flat. It is interesting. It is interesting. I don't know if a 15 flat is safe. It could potentially be safe, but I don't know. It's risky, as Justin is improving on his lap time. So see what Justin is going to do. Of course, he's looking to improve on his intermediate run that he did earlier. And to the line he'll come. It's a 15.5, so it's not enough right now for Justin. What about Gaten going through the final corner for All Elite Racing Team? And he's done a 15.7. So actually, maybe I'm talking out of talking absolute breeze right now, because I mean, 7 attempts is a big amount of time to find. Not only that, there's not really enough time for these two to get back to the pits and get back out. Rev Rob has an opportunity to get himself into Q2, but he needs to make sure that this lap is valid. He needs to make sure that this lap is valid on the box and quicker than a 15.5. And we're going to go on board with Rev Rob for this lap. We're going to take away the timetable right now as we come down the start finish straight, heading down in towards turn number 1. Third gear, the gear of choice there for Rev Rob. Decent traction on the exit at turn 1 as we run down in now in towards turn number 2. Oh, a little bit deep through turn 2, but he can make up the time with a bit of a smoother exit. Let's see what the first sector split is saying. 3 seconds up, and yeah, he's backed out already. Yeah, I believe, yeah, Rev Rob's backed out. He has backed out, which is not ideal. It means that he is left with this 1 lap now, but maybe he wasn't happy with what he could do. Of course, Justin and Gaten, they're not going to be able to get out of the pits. Now, if I'm Daniel, KJ, Max, and Ivan, I'm just coming back into the pit lane at the end of this lap, and I'm retiring, because realistically, you're not getting knocked out. There's no point in putting extra weight on those tyres. Keep them for Q2. Rev Rob, though, has to set a quick and competitive lap time. As we run down in towards turn number 1, it looks like KJ has actually, he may have one of his engineers obviously looking on and giving the information that no matter what happens, he's through into Q2. No point in putting extra weight on the tyres, but Ivan, Max and Daniel have all decided to set a lap, which in my opinion might be a little bit of a mistake. I'd rather have the extra bit of tyres available for Q2. As Rev Rob there getting onto the curb, and a big snap, and that is always the case when you leave it late, but he's 3.3 up right now. It is not enough. Rev Rob needs a big final sector here to get himself through into Q2, and I'm not sure if he's done enough, but we will see. Through the final corner now will come the Alien Motorsports driver, Rev Rob, to the line, DRS wide open. And what's it going to be? It's a 15.5. He just about does it by 6 thousandths of a second. Rev Rob gets himself through into Q2 by the skin of his teeth. 6 thousandths of a second. Justin misses out. And of course, Azuri Esports won't be exactly thrilled about that one. They would have hoped that Justin would have snuck his way into Q2, but Alien Motorsports says Rev Rob dumps him out in Q1 by 6 thousandths of a second. And of course, we will run you through the order once again here for Q1. Of course, Astana for TF10 is going to be taking the top step alongside with his teammate along with him. Fuller Congan, Alex Marciano, Tono Reach, Digio, Oxu, RWB, Lucas, Typical, Ivan, Max, KJ, Daniel, Rev Rob. Our two drivers that were knocked out here in Q1 is Justin for Azuri Esports, and of course getting there for All Elite Racing Team. Of course, the lone All Elite Racing Team driver here at the moment, his teammate Mel Wynn, is not here right now. But looking in the chat, obviously we got Ivan saying hello, we got Liam saying yo, and then asking why TF10 actually fast. The TF10 have always been fast. They've always been fast. Adam saying we are locked in. And then, of course, Joyful saying, come on, EVR boys. Of course, the EVR drivers in Lucas and KJ here tonight in those Saubers. It's going to be interesting to see who is going to be getting themselves into Q3. And honestly, you definitely have to be in the 14s, I think, to get yourself into Q3. 14s are needed, in my opinion. Of course, the first driver out on track is Astala there for TF10. And we are going to see what he's going to be doing. Of course, he did top the times in Q1. But it's one thing to do it in Q1. It's a whole nother thing to do it when it matters at the end in Q3. And right now, Astala might have topped the time in Q1, but he's not in Q3 just yet. Although he is definitely going to be looking to do so. Remember, TF10, 20 points behind ET8 in the championship. 20 points separating second and third. While Shazoo are 66 points clear of ET8 at this moment in time. As we are going to give Astala the full screen. A little bit of a clip on the inside curve there. Might have just cost him a little bit on the run down into towards turn number 1. Not getting the smoothest of exits that he possibly could have. But through turn 1 will go Astala now. DRS wide open on the run down now in towards turn number 2. Then onto the curb, under braking. Letting the car float through turn 2. On the ERS through turn 3 as we climb up the hill towards turn number 4. 26.8 first sector. And all valid through turn 4 and of course through turn 5 as well. Now into the chicane of 6 and 7. Keeping it in a straight line now, coming through turns 8 and turn 9. A little bit onto the exit curb, just a little snap there for Astala. Coming through turn 11 now. Middle sector split, 53.4. In towards turn number 12. Again, a little twitch on the rear for the TF10 driver, but coming through the penultimate corner, getting onto the power. And keeping it nice and tight through the final corner on the power again. ERS burning, DRS wide open to the line. And it's a 15.1 for Astala to get Q2 underway. As we should be having more drivers crossing the line in a moment. Of course, his teammate in F1, SNX, what's called with a 15.3. KJ with a 15.2. Rev Rob with a 15.3. Improved on his first laps as we got Tony Risha starting his lap. We got Typical coming to the end of his lap, but we got Oscar on a validated lap. Ivan to the line. And Ivan is going to go just ahead of his teammate with a 15.2. Typical now to the line. A 16.3 from Typical. Not the best of laps there from the Legacy Racing driver, as Max is looking quick in the middle sector. So what can Max do? Obviously, he's looking quick relative to what we've seen so far in this session, but we know that these guys are capable of quicker times than what we've seen thus far. But is Max about to go and be the first driver in Q2 into the 14s? Yes, he is, with a 14.990. Max the first to break the 14 here in Q2. Of course, Q1's fastest lap was mid-14, so there's definitely more time out there for these drivers. But Tony Reich now through the final corner for Shazoo. And we're going to see what he's going to do. It's going to be a 14.4 there from Tony Reich. The gauntlet has indeed been laid down. As it looks like Oxu, he's most likely on an in-lap right now. That's about 3 seconds off minimum in the middle sector right there. So, yeah, he's coming into the pit lane. Not surprising there, as we got Daniel about to start his lap time as well. Of course, the top 10 do get themselves through in towards Q3. And I think that you have to be into the 14s to have a chance of getting through into Q3, as we have a bit of a snap there for Daniel on the exit of turn 1. Not ideal for the Azuri esports driver. His teammate, of course, in Justin, got knocked out in Q1 by 6 thousandths of a second by Rev Rob. Alien Motorsports Rev Rob currently on a 15.3. Daniel's going to be hoping to get a little bit of revenge for his teammate and qualify above both of the Alien Motorsports drivers here if possible. Daniel now through turn number 10 and of course turn 11, as we get a little bit of lag going on there. He's around about half a second off of what we've seen Max and Estella do in the middle sector, so that is not looking great so far for Daniel. It's putting him around RWB typical region. But to the line he'll come. I think he's going to split the pair. No, he just gets in ahead of RWB. Which right now is good enough for P10, but lap times are going to get quicker and quicker. Volakongan on his outlap, as is Lucas. Estella also on his outlap, same with SNX. But we're going to stay on board with Lucas here, the Evolution Racing Team driver, EVR. Of course, Joyful in the chat, supporting the EVR boys here tonight. Right now, KJ currently in P4. Lucas yet to get a lap time on the board here in Q2. But is that about to change as we come through turn number 2 now? Through turn number 3 as we climb up the hill towards turn number 4 and the first sector split. 26.8 first sector as we go through turn number 5 now. Nice and tight to the inside, not clipping that inside curb, which is ideal there for Lucas. Now over the curves at 6 and 7, now through turn 8, right in the curbs through 8, 9 and the exit of turn 9 as we go through turn number 10 now. In towards turn number 11, all valid for Lucas, and it's a 53.3, which is on par with Max and Astala right now. So what can Lucas do now? Coming through the final couple of corners, very tight, almost clipping the pit lane entry wall there, but Lucas keeping it valid, and he goes up into P2 with a 14.9, just ahead of Max, who's starting his lap in behind. Tony Reich is done for the session. He's happy with his lap time. So he is all sorted as we got SNX now coming through the final corner. And it's a 14.5 from him. Astala, his teammate, a 14.4. Both of the TF10 drivers looking very, very quick. Volakongan splitting the two up into P3 with a 14.5. As the 14s are now starting to become very apparent here inside the top 10. As we're on board with KJ right now, the second of the Evolution Racing Team drivers. and he's a 10th and a half up in the middle sector. So this is looking like it's going to be an improvement, but is he going to get himself into the 14 zone? That is the question. Typical does a 115 flat, and KJ drops the rear coming through turn 13 and into the pits will come KJ. And I believe we just had an improved lap time come through from Oxcrew there. So ET8 now starting to get the lap times on the board. Digio is coming through the middle sector split, and he's a 10th up in the middle sector split, and this is looking on par with Lucas and Max right now, but a bit wide on the exit of turn 13 there, but nice and tight through 14. To the line will come Digio, and it's a 15 flat, half a second improvement just behind his teammate. But we got Alex Marciano now on his flying lap. Remember, he's done a 15.2. First sector split, and he's over a 10th and a half up in the first sector. Now coming through turn number 5. We enter the chicane of 6 and 7 here with the ET8 man. Nice traction on the exit of the chicane for Alex Marciano as we go through turns 8 and 9. Now through turn number 10. And of course turn 11. 3.5 tenths improvement right now for Alex Marciano as we come through the final sector now in towards the penultimate corner at turn 13. I was saying the 14s are needed, and it looks like the 14 is definitely going to be needed for these drivers at the end of the session, because here comes Alex Marciano. It's on course for a 14, but what's it going to be? It's a 14.6. Up in the P5 goes the ET8 man. And now we have we have just under 4 minutes remaining in the session, as we have Typical right now on the bubble with a 115 flat. It's going to be very interesting to see who is going to be knocked out here in Q2. Right now, Daniel is in P15 with a 15.7. There's definitely going to be time there for him. There's going to be time there for the Alien Motorsports pairing of Ivan and Rev Rob. KJ is, of course, going to be looking to make up for the back end snap that he had on his previous lap, where of course he was up on his time, but was it going to be ahead of Typical? That is the question. And then of course we got the LR duo of Digio and Typical in 11th and 10th. Of course, Max will most likely be back out again. He's not going to feel safe there. Same with Lucas. Potentially we could see Oxlu and RWB back out on track also. But through the final corner now will come KJ to get his lap underway, as we got 2.5 minutes remaining here in the session. The Shazoo drivers and TF10 drivers both retiring from Q2. They are both happy with their lap times. I think Alex will be happy with his as well. But RWB and Ostu might be back out to try and improve on their runs, as we got KJ marginally up in Sector 1. Through the middle sector, and there's the invalidation. I was about to say through the middle sector, he gets caught onto the curb, slides a little bit, cost himself a little bit of time, and then of course the invalidation, which is not ideal for him. Daniel, big lap time needed for the Azuri esports driver, so climbs up the hill, and it is over a 10th and a half up in the first sector. And there's the invalidation, so Daniel's going to have to back out and go again. We got Lucas now on his... I believe he's on an installation lap right now. As we got 1 minute remaining in the session, the drivers are pushing to the absolute limit now to get into Q3. And we are going to see who is going to be the first driver to get themselves into Q3. I believe KJ is going to be... Oh, KJ's actually trying to get himself in a position where he can get around and get himself going again, but he has just completely cut turn 4. I wonder if the stewards will have anything to say about that, as he's got 30 seconds to get around. But right now with Typical, just under a tenth up in the first sector. 15 seconds remaining in Q2. I don't think KJ has got enough time to get around. I think he's going to miss out. And yes, he is. KJ is going to miss out. That's his session over and done with. But Typical, middle sector split, over a tenth up. And then we'll have Ivan in behind. Rev Rob in the pits. He's done for his session. KJ, nothing he can do. He's out in Q2 here. Typical to the line. And it's a 0.8 for Typical. Ivan now to the line. And Ivan goes up in the P11. Not enough. Digio is invalidated. That's his lap over and done with. As we got Max, who is purple in the middle sector. He is up on his time. And with Digio into the pits, only Daniel is really the threat in behind. But here comes Max to the line, and he goes P6, RWB, P7, and Oxcool will come into the pits as Daniel has crossed the line, and he only managed P12 in the end, but it was a 15 flat for him. It wouldn't have been enough to get ahead of Typical's lap time regardless, but it definitely is a much better showing from Daniel right there at the end of the session when the pressure was on. So the 5 drivers missing out here in Q2 is of course going to be Ivan, who comes through with a 14.993. Then of course is Daniel for Azuri Esports in P12, 15 flat for him. Digio there for Legacy Racing on a 15 flat also. KJ Evolution Racing Team with a 15.2. And of course, last but not least, missing out of Q3 is going to be Rev Rob for Alien Motorsport there on a 15.3. The 10 drivers fighting for the pole position point is going to be Tony Reish, Astella, Volakongan, SNX, Alex Marciano, Max, RWB, Oxcu, Typical, and Lucas. So we have both ETA drivers, both Shazoo drivers, both TF10 drivers, both ground effect spec drivers, one driver from Legacy Racing, and of course one driver from Evolution Racing Team. But which team will be collecting that pole position point? That is the big questions now, as we have the top 10 shootout. 12 minutes to decide who will be starting on pole position, who will be on the front row, and who will be in the midfield going down in towards turn number 1. TF10 have looked very quick here tonight, and of course in Q2 we saw Shazoo see the Ignite as turn up the heat, and of course they are also looking very quick. Alex Marciano and Ostu, I think have the capability of getting in there. They can get in and amongst it, of course they can. But as of right now, they're just a couple of attempts off at this moment in time. But it'll be interesting to see if they can find that time in Q3. Of course, RWB and Max doing a fantastic job for ground effect spec racing in this race. Astella is the first man out on his outlap, and he's got his teammate directly in behind him. As both of the ground effect spec drivers come out at the same time also, so maybe we're going to see a little bit of a little bit of teamwork potentially going on. Guys, let me know in the chat right now, what is your predictions for pole position? Who will be starting from pole position here in Q3? What do you think the lap time is going to be? What do you think the pole lap is going to be? The quickest we've seen so far is a 14.4. Let me know in the chat your predictions. As Astala now coming through the final corner to get his opening lap of Q3 underway. 10 minutes remaining on the clock as we run down in towards turn number 1. So Stella now through turn number 3 as we climb up the hill now towards turn number 4. Of course, we don't have the delta up just yet. That is one thing I actually forgot to do, right? So I apologize right there, guys. I did not have the delta up, but now we do, and we can see what is going on now as we have a little look now through the middle sector. I think Astala just feeling this lap out. A 52.9 in the first sector. This is on course for a mid 14 right now for Astala. Through the penultimate corner, he'll go. Now in towards the final corner now. The TF10 man to the line. DRS wide open. And it's going to be a 14.3. And I think that is the quickest lap we have seen thus far. And a 14.4 from his teammate in behind. As we got Max to the line, and he's going to do a 15.3, not ideal for him. RWB now to the line. That's a 15 flat from him on his first flying lap, typical. Coming to the end of his lap, that's a 15.5 from him. As Osu is backing off, as we got Alex Marciano, who is on a lap. Got caught up behind one of the TF10 drivers, so I wonder if that'll be something that Alex Marciano might look back at and think we got a little bit off put by the TF10 man, maybe. But coming through turn 12, Alex Marciano is improving, and we got our first prediction in the chat of Thiago saying pole position 14.2 by one of the TF10 drivers, and it's a 14.7 from Alex Marciano and ET8. Tony Reich though is matching what Astala is doing in the middle sector. Now it's all about the final sector. Can Tony Reich snatch provisional pole position away from TF10 and Astala here? To the line will come the Shizou man. As a 14.2, so already a quicker lap time than what was predicted by Thiago in chat. As we got Ethan saying a Tony Reich pole 13.5. That would be some lap if he's able to get a 13.5. That is 7 tenths up on what he's currently on. That would be some lap right there. Volokongan 14.3 as a Shizou 1-2 at the front right now. As Osu is going to come into the pits. Lucas done with his lap, and the first round of lap share in Q3 is over and done with. Tony Reich, provisional pole right now at 1 minute 14.219. Ahead of his teammate Volokongan on a 1 minute 14.357, who is 3 thousandths of a second ahead of TF10's Astala on a 14.360. Then of course we got F1 SNX in behind, of course, the second of the TF10 drivers on a 14.488. Then we got a bit of a gap back to Alex Marciano on a 14.710. And then again, we got a bit of a gap to RWB on a 15 flat ahead of his teammate in Max on a 15.3. Lucas there on a 15.5, just ahead of Typical also on a 15.5. And then, of course, we got ET8 Oxcrew, who I believe, obviously, he just backed out of his lap. So it's not a competitive lap time there from the ET8 man. So there'll definitely be an improvement there from Oxcrew. As Tiago says, a Stala pole, a 14.1. It's Snack. Okay, I was wondering if it was Snack, and I was just calling him SNX and that just make it a little bit easier. But if it's Snack, I will now start calling him Snack. I wasn't sure, you see. But thank you for that clarification there, Tiago. It is much appreciated. Of course, 4.5 minutes remaining in the session. Shazoo right now completing the front row. TF10 completing the second row. But will it remain that way at the end of the session? Time will tell, as all the drivers now, they'll have a fresh set of softs available to them. And they will be mentally now preparing themselves for the final lap here to give it absolutely everything. But here's the question I want to post to you guys in chat. Would you go out and maybe put in an installation lap before going on the flying lap? Because we've seen that several times so far in qualifying where drivers have been putting in an installation lap before a flying lap. What do you guys think in chat? Let me know. Like, would you be out there right now in an installation lap? Or would you be looking to push like just one lap and done? As we have the calm before the storm right now. And here we go, the first movement in the pit lane of, I believe, one of the Shazoo drivers. And I think that is going to be... Actually, no, that wasn't one of the Shazoo drivers. I do apologize. I thought I saw the teal of the Mercedes there. And of course, Dirk there putting a comment in saying if you go out now, people on laps blocking you. That is true. That is true right there, Dirk. Of course, that is the gamble, isn't it? That is the gamble. Like, do you try to go on an installation lap and get the fuel down to the absolute minimum, but risk obviously the people on the out lap, or do you go what's called right at the end where you get the best grip of the session, a little bit more fuel in the tank, but one mistake and that's it, lap over? That's always the question, always the debate. But Lucas now going to be the first person to get a lap time on the board. We have 1 minute and 45 seconds remaining in the session as we come through the final corner, and Lucas is actually not pushing on his lap. He's doing an installation lap. So we got RWB going to be the first man to actually put a lap time on the board. As Lucas say, yeah, he's not using his ERS. Lucas is going for the installation lap. So now we're going to see the difference between just having the installation lap and just absolutely going for it. RWB though is going to be the first man to get his final lap underway. As I believe his teammate in Max has made a mistake early on, and he's moved over and laughed through. When there's Shazoo and TF10 drivers. As look at this now, and here we go. RWB closing up rapidly on Lucas here. Lucas is going to get out of the way of RWB, and RWB might not be too happy, but he is 2 tenths up in the middle sector. As he clips the outside curb on entry and the braking, and that's just cost him a little bit of time there. RWB now using all the track he can through the final 2 corners. He'll come, and what's it going to be as we got 15 seconds remaining in the session? It's a 14.8 for him, as I believe Astala there with a 14.1, and Tony Reich and Snack also on a 14.1. Tony Reich was unable to get an improved lap time. Volokongan is up in the first sector, but middle sector split will say everything. Typical through the final corner, 6 tenths up on his lap time. Right now, Typical's lost it. He's lost the rear coming through the final corner. Ox2 is the next man up to set a lap time here, and then of course we got Volokongan to the line in behind. Can Volokongan get provisional pole position back off the TF10 pairing? Time will tell. Volokongan's down in the middle sector, and Volokongan P4 as Alex Marciano knocks him down. The ET8 man has split the Shazoo pairing. Alex Marciano there up into P4, knocks Volokongan down to P5 as we got Lucas now on a flying lap. And of course he's coming through the final corner. He did the installation lap and he's done a 14.6, gets himself ahead of RWB, but is there going to be a point of contention there? And I believe that is the session over and done with. Yeah, Tony Reich is going to come into the pits. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a TF10 front row lockout. Astala Snack going to be starting on the front row for the start of the Hungarian Grand Prix here in the CTC Console Championship. Astala ahead of Snack. Tony Reich and Alex Marciano will complete the second row. Volokongan and Ostu will complete the third row. Lucas and RWB on the fourth row. And then of course we got Max and Typical going to be completing the fifth and final row of the grid here inside the top 10. Of course we do have the rest of the field that will filter in behind. As in the chat, we got Dirk saying nice block from the kick. I'm assuming you mean it with regards to RWB, but for the order one more time. Astala for TF10 takes a pole position ahead of his teammate in Snack, who will join him on the front row. Less than half a tenth off of the pole position lap time is Tony Reich for Shazoo in third, with Alex Marciano ET8 in fourth. Volokongan for Shazoo in fifth, with Osku ET8 in sixth. Lucas for Evolution Racing Team in 7th, with RWB and Max in 8th and 9th for, of course, Ground Effect Spec Racing. Of course, Legacy Racing's Typical rounding out the top 10. But back to the chat, I believe Dirk might be referring to RWB's lap where it got slightly off-put by the Sauber doing the installation lap. Unless there was something I missed. Dirk, I mean, let me know, like, from your side, if there is something that I missed. Like, maybe you got some info that we did not catch on the stream. And for some reason, I am actually... Okay, right. Well, this is not good right here, because for some reason, I am driving. I forgot to join as a spectator. This is not good for me. No. Okay, okay, right. So, okay, guys. So, I am gonna have to retire as soon as we go to the five red lights. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here on the grid right now. I'm in the Ferrari. Currently sat in P18. Honestly, in a field like this, being P18 is an absolute honor. Ah. Ladies and gentlemen, when you jump back into the lobby and you forget to hit spectator as you jump back in, I can only apologize, guys. Penguin, I disconnected at the start of Q1. So when I rejoined, I forgot to hit spectator. I just immediately joined the session. So it's put me in the Ferrari, so I'm gonna have to retire immediately. And yeah, that's what we're gonna have to do. Well, I mean, I don't race no assists anymore. I don't race no assists anymore. Yeah, I really shouldn't. I shouldn't be driving. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, all the drivers are getting their preparations going as we go to those five red lights to get us underway here. Five red lights are out and they are underway. I just wanted to make sure that my AI got nowhere near anyone going down in towards turn one. As the drivers are running down into turn number one, hopefully everyone gets through perfectly fine as we are now here as a spectator. And Alex Marciano, a great start from him. He's up in the P2 off the start. As we got, oh, look at that, Volakongan and Orstu as Tony Riche trying to block in Orstu as the Shazoo pairing are working together to try and get Orstu out of the way of Volakongan, but contact made there. And was that a bit of front wing that went off the ET8 man? No, okay, right, still got a front wing there for Orstu as Volakongan also with a front wing. We have no idea what has happened. Alex Marciano getting a fantastic start off the line, getting himself up into P2. Of course, he did start P4, so I'm guessing he just got the absolute launcher he needed on Snack and had the launch on Tony Reach off the line. But yeah, Alex Marciano up into P2, Snack down to P3, Tony Reach down to P4, Orstu P5, Volakongan in P6. As typical now, P7 with Lucas in P8, Daniel in P9, as RWB and Max P at 10 and 11th, KJ in 12th, Rev Rob in 13th, Gaten in 14th, Justin in 15th, Ivan in 16th, and Digio there in 17th. And an unbelievable performance here from the commentator, Ivan with Mike there. Retired, oh, contact! And that is Daniel in the wall. Daniel just been tagged from behind, spun into the wall, and Daniel's out the race. I was about to say a very strong performance from the commentator, I've been Mike, but we immediately got cut off immediately by that instant there. which sent Daniel into the wall and out of this race. A virtual safety car deployed here on lap 2 of 35. And of course, now, let's have a look at the position changes here. As we've got Alex Marciano up 2 spots, Snack down 1, Tony Reich down 1. Up 1 is Oxu in 5th, down 1 Volokongan. And then, of course, up 3 is typical Max holding his position at the start of this race. Lucas down 1, and of course RWB down 2. No drive-throughs picked up. KJ up 3, Rev Rob up 3, and Yidden up 4, and of course Justin up 2. Ivan and Diego there out of luck right now as Lucas into the pit lane. As Ostu and Volokongan again doing battle. We're going to stay on board with this side by side coming down in towards turn number 2. Volokongan to the inside, Ostu around the outside. Contact made again between these two. No love lost between Shazoo and ETA, and that might just open the door for Typical to get through, and Typical does get through. As we're seeing the split now form in the midfield as Rev Rob out of DRS range on Max up ahead, who is on the back of Volokongan here. And I think Volokongan's just backing off now. I'm not sure what's going on there, but Volokongan backing off. He might have some damage that we can't visually see. Hopefully one of the Shazoo guys in chat can maybe let us know if Volokongan does have any damage, but he is back within DRS range now. Justin and Ivan battling it out, and there goes Diego around the outside, Diego down the inside, and there is Ivan into the pit lane. Tony Reich, fast lap of the race thus far, trying his best to get back in this fight for the race win. Oxu now going to be the head of this train in the midfield, which of course currently consists of Typical, Volokongan, Max, Rev Rob, and of course Gaten. As we got obviously RWB and Ivan into the pit lane nice and early, lap 4 of 35. As in the chat, Dirk saying no clue what they're both doing because Tony is slow too. I mean, Tony right now is in the train for the lead, so I'm not gonna believe you when you say Tony's slow. I will never believe that. Never. Of course, now Typical going to be the man to potentially go for the move here down the inside into towards turn number 1. And he is going to get, of course, Typical will get a double dose of DRS as we run down into towards turn number 2. Oslo trying everything he can to stay ahead of the LR man. Very close on the exit, but it is going to be Typical that does get himself ahead. And now Volokongan, obviously with the ERS advantage, might smell blood in the water. As Max doing everything he can to just hold on to the back of it. Rev Rob though falling away and into the clutches of Giddens. Towards the front though, Alex Marciano, Anastala and Snack, as well as Tony Reich, all in a nice train right now. Tony Reich doing fantastic on his ERS compared to the rest of the field. Will that come back to bite the top 3 late in the session? That is going to be the question. As Max, we're going to stay on board with Max by here just to keep things a little bit spicy, and I don't want you guys to know how much ERS Volokongan or Ostu is going to be using, but Ostu going to be under big pressure from Volokongan coming down in towards turn number 1. And he's not going to go for it. Oh, actually, nice little switch back there from Volokongan, possibly. And no. Volokongan going to hold in behind Osku for the time being. You know what, guys? I'm going to turn the telemetry off. I'm going to turn the telemetry off for a bit. I never usually do it, but I'm going to do it this time. Just because of the battling. I'm joking. I'll turn it back on. I'll turn it back on. It goes both ways, doesn't it? Max closing up to the back of Volokongan. Does Volokongan have damage? Not visually from what I can see, but I mean, maybe side pod damage, perhaps. Possibly. I mean, I'm not sure. There was a bit of side pod contact between Oxcrew and Volokongan. Maybe that might have given like a bit of damage. I don't know, but Volokongan definitely having a bit of a torrid time at the moment in this typical Oxcrew battle. The top four in their own race. It is more satisfying with the telemetry on. I do agree there. Of course, it allows the engineers as well to to help their drivers also. As Tony Reich is into the pit lane at the end of lap 7, so he is going for the undercut. Now it's going to be interesting to see where Max is going to be relative to Tony Reich here, because Max, of course, he was no way off. He wasn't in that battle for the top 4, but it's interesting to see if he's closed up at all. So let's have a look here. How good is the undercut for Max as he comes through? And Volokongan's going to be well up the road already. Yeah, Volokongan's already clear. But I mean, Max potentially is he has gained a little bit, I think. But now TF10 have a bit of a dilemma here, with Snack and Astala both in the lead train. Someone's going to have to stay out an extra lap and risk the undercut. And if I'm TF10, I'm possibly keeping Snack out for an extra lap. Unless you plan on pitting Snack right now, and then maybe trying to do a bit of a defensive job on Volokongan, and as we say right there, Snack into the pits. Alex Marciano carries on with Astala, so that's good for Astala here. Snack and Tony Reich are going to be a locked in battle coming down towards turn number 1. That I can assure you. Coming through the final corner now is Volokongan, and I think he might actually get the jump on Snack here. Yeah, he will. Tony Reich gets the jump on Snack, and Tony Reich right now, effectively, in my opinion, is in the net race lead. As Snack has to try everything he can to close up. So you see how much Tony Reich has used on his outlap to get that undercut to pay off as much as it did. But in my opinion right now, he is in that net race lead, and he is closing in on Justin up ahead. As Volokongan, Osku and Typical still battling it out. But Max is going to get a nice little undercut on these guys when they come into the pit lane, that is for sure. And I believe they're coming in relatively soon, as Stala is also into the pits. Alex Marciano continues on. And this is where things get interesting here, because Alex Marciano was a nice buffer. Oh, contact Oxu going down the inside, and contact made with typical. Volokongan also getting tangled up in that as well. Oxu with a late lunge down the inside. Volokongan getting tangled up in it. Nothing Volokongan could do about that. Nothing that, I mean, that'll definitely be in with the stewards, that is for sure, as we got Rev Rob now in DRS range. Yeah, I think these guys are going to have to come into the pits. Oh, it's Oxu now getting all onto the curb and out of shape there. Oxu really struggling now. And now Volokongan has to pounce in towards turn number 12. Volokongan has the opportunity now to get through on the ET8 man, who has been a thorn in his side since the start of this race. But Volokongan is sitting in behind for the time being. Alex Marciano continues on for another lap. As typical is in. So now Volokongan with DRS, ERS. He's going to move to the outside for turn number 1. Oxu going to defend the inside line. Hopefully they keep it clean. Contact made between them again. Oxu though up, down into P3 as Volokongan gets through into P2 now. Rev Rob on the back of this. Tony Reich on the back of them as well. With KJ, Snack and Astala going to be along for the ride. And is Volokongan going to stay out to try and help his teammate, I wonder? As Tony Reich all underneath that rear wing of Rev Rob here in the middle sector. As we could be seeing multiple overtakes happening anytime soon. Here comes Tony Reich down the inside. Job done for him. Snack not going to go for the move on KJ yet, but he will on the exit as he gets the traction. No, he backs out of it. And I think KJ there planting his car in all the right spots as Oxu is into the pits. And that is ideal right now for Shazoo, because here comes both of the TF10 drivers. They're going to get through on KJ. Next up is Rev Rob for the pair run. But now Tony Reich right behind his teammate. Volokongan's not going to make this difficult for Tony Reich. He's just going to get out of the way ASAP and then make his car as wide as possible for the TF10 drivers. And there is the switcheroo right there for Shazoo. Snack and Astala need to navigate Rev Rob before they get onto the back of Volokongan here. And of course, every corner that they are stuck behind Rev Rob and Volokongan, the gap to Tony Reich gets larger and larger. As here goes Snack now down the inside, and Astala going to follow him through. So now TF10 need to work together to try and get themselves anywhere near Tony Reich, who has about a 4-second lead now on Snack. And there we go, the DRS trades have begun. But Volokongan is up the road, and he'll definitely be making that car as wide as possible. Of course, how much longer can Volokongan stick it out for on those tyres? He is losing so much time through the corners, and of course he is going to be naturally slower regardless, but the gap he can try and make for Tony Reich right now is going to be absolutely fantastic in this middle sector. But it's all going to be about the DRS strikes. I think Volokongan is not slow enough that these guys are going to be losing a huge amount of time to him in this middle sector. I mean, he is going to be slow, but not going to be slow enough. And they both can close up now in the final sector. And then with DRS, they can go for it. And there we go. There's the Volokongan parking the bus right there. Trying to give his teammate the best possible opportunity. But out of the corner, TF10 with DRS. Volokongan's going to use all his ERS to try and defend from the pair of them. But there goes Snack through as well. And Volokongan, he's done a job for his teammate. He's gained him a good second right there. A good second. And Alex Marciano comes out now in a net P5 behind Max. And almost under pressure immediately from Typical. So Alex Marciano, of course, he stayed out longer than everyone else on the mediums. He's now on fresh hards. He'll have the fresher hards for the end of this race. But how much of the fresh hard's going to help him towards the latter stage of this race, I wonder. As now, Astala and Snack are doing everything they can now to bring that gap down to Tony Reich. And Tony Reich's gap has been eroded by around about half a second, well, nearly a full second on this lap alone. And it is going to be a full second. And of course, these two have DRS. They can DRS trade with each other as well. And when it comes down to a 2v1 situation, Tony Reich could be in a very sticky one with the 2v1. As Alex Marciano gets through on KJ, up into P6 he goes on those fresh hard tyres. And now he's already going to be within DRS range on Max as well, up ahead. As Typical is going to be stuck behind KJ for the time being, which is ideal for both Max and Alex Marciano. But for Typical, it's not going to be good. Digio there in P9 having a decent race thus far. Gaten there in P10 also having a decent race. But picking up that 3-second time penalty is not going to be helping him as Ox2 is closing in. As Alex gets through on Max through the middle sector. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that overtake happen, but Alex does get through and ahead of the ground effect spec racing driver, and Max picks himself up a 3-second time penalty for his troubles as Volokongan's into the pits. Now, of course, Volokongan, having stayed out for so long, KJ also in, he was battling the likes of Oxlu and Typical. Now, though, he's going to be like down towards the likes of RWB and Ivan here, in my opinion. But let's have a look here as he comes down the start from the straight, exiting the pit lane now. And there will be Ivan going through there in behind. So Volokongan comes out in P13 after the work he done to try and help his teammate out, which has worked in the sense it gave him a gap, but Astala is now on the back of Tony Reich. As we're about to approach the halfway distance in this race, Tony Reich leads away. Astala now in P2 in DRS. But Tony Reich has so much more battery. He's done a very good job in saving his battery, whilst Astala and Snack have had to use all theirs to close up. Alex Marciano on the fresher hards is closing in naturally, and he has the battery as well to help him out. Typical closing in on the back of Max here for P5 in this race. Justin and Lucas side by side on the exit of turn 1 as we run down now in towards turn number 2. Justin holding the inside line, and he'll get that position done and dusted. Volokongan there in P12. A lot of work to do for Volokongan to get himself back up into a good points playing position, but there's plenty of time left in this race for him to maybe get himself back up into contention for... Honestly, I reckon he could maybe get himself back into contention for a P7, P8, as Volokongan gets the job done on Lucas there, and that's only going to help Volokongan. Lucas making mistakes like that. Volokongan now up into P11 in this race. I tell you what, this race is absolutely marinating lovely. I mean, we've got Astala versus Tony Reich right now for the race win. But we got Snack, who's around about 2.4 off the back of these two. And if Astala can back up Tony Reich into Snack, then Snack might be able to have a go here. But you got Alex Marciano on the fresh hards closing in also. And he's going to be a fawn late into this race. As typical is on the back of Max here for P5 in this race. And his teammate in Digio in 7th is going to be having us to close up on him gradually. In fact... maybe not. Oslo doesn't appear to be closing in much. I wonder if he did pick up irreparable damage, of course, in that instant with Volokongan and that earlier. Of course, Volokongan is doing everything he can to close in. 1.5 off the back of Giddens, currently in P10, looking to try and get himself up into P9. Then he can get onto the back of Ostu and potentially get himself in this fight with Typical and Max by the end of this race for P5. That will be the aim for Volokongan, who sets the fastest lap of the race thus far. 17.7 for him. Tony Reich still in behind Astala. The gap to Snack is coming down. The gap to Alex Marciano is also coming down. And everyone is converging on each other, and there's going to be a fantastic end to this race, I can assure you of that. But who will be taking the top step of the podium? Will it be a TF10 driver? Will it be Shazoo Cedar Igniters? Or will it be ET8 Esports? That is the question. Of course, TF10 right now currently bringing in a lot of points for their team. In efforts to close up to ET8 and gain points on Shazoo, TF10 are doing a good job. ET8 right now are also doing a good job because Alex Marciano is closing in on Snack here. The gap back to 2.1 between Snack and Tony Reich. Alex Marciano closing in on those fresher hard compound tyres and could be snagging that final podium position in the next lap or two. And Volokongan is flying towards the back of Ox2 here. Now these two have already had a bit of a dicey race thus far with each other. Hopefully it's a lot cleaner this time around. Ladies and gentlemen, lap 20 of 35, about to begin lap 21. Let me know in the chat At this stage in the race, who is your money on for the race win? As we got Astala leading the way, Tony Reich in the DRS range in behind. Then we got Snack, who is now going to be under pressure from Alex Marciano, who is on the fresher tyres. And Osu picking up a 3-second time penalty. Not ideal for him. Here comes a Volakongan in DRS range. And with ERS, will close up down in towards turn number 1. But is he going to be close enough to go for the move, I wonder? Potentially, as Osu defends the inside. There goes Volakongan trying to sail it around the outside. Maybe look for a bit of a switchback to get the run down in towards turn number 2. Around the outside again goes Volakongan. And is he going to be able to make this stick around the outside or squeeze all the way to the curb? But he's still there on the inside. Contact made between the pair of them once again. Volakongan though has to sit in behind. As we got Penguin in the chat saying Alex is his bet. Of course, Alex Marciano right now in P4 on the back of Snack, but on the fresher tyres. So will have the advantage later into this race. And has the advantage right now actually in terms of the grip that he has. Volakongan right now is... Oh, as Tony Reich into the pits. And so Snack. Snack and Tony Reich into the pit lane, so they're going for the 2-stop. And it's another set of the hard compound tyres. As we got in the chat, of course, comments about this battle that we got going on right now between Ostu and Tony Reich, as we're getting a almost Barrichello Schumacher moment as they come down. As you see Snack just exiting the pit lane, and Volakongan is now finally ahead of Ostu. But yeah, so Alex Marciano, I think, has gone for the standard 1-stop in this race. Of course, he stretched the mediums out. He's gone for the box standard 1-stop. Tony Reich has a lot of time to gain if he wants to get himself back into things. Volakongan is also on the 1-stop in this race as well. He's going to the end. And Volakongan can really help out his teammate once again, with Snack in behind, trying to close up on him. Astala into the pits as well. He's not messing around here. He's going to make sure he tries to cover off Volakongan, as Tony Reich, because he knows the threat of Volakongan. Ostu, another 3-second time penalty, as Snack there, almost going into the back of Ostu. Typical also into the pit lane. The 1-stop versus the 2-stop strategy is looking like it's going to be the events for tonight, as Ostu there covering the inside, but Snack with DRS and ERS is going to breeze past the ET8 man. And up in the P5 goes Snack, but he has Volakongan up ahead. Tony Reich just ahead of Estrella now. 14.7 is the gap between Tony Reich and Alex Marciano. We're on lap 23 of 35. Can the ET8 man hold on to a race win here, or will Astala and Tony Reich close him down? Of course, Volakongan is going to do his best to keep Snack at bay here, because the longer Snack stays in behind Volakongan, the better it is for Tony Reich. And of course, potential less points that TF10 can get out of this as well, because Snack might not be able to catch up to Alex Marciano. We'll have to find out later in this race if that is going to be the case. Ostu though falling back, and of course there's been some questionable moments in this race from Ostu, but I think Snack right now getting right underneath that rear wing of Volakongan with DRS and ERS. He's too close. There's no hope for Volakongan to defend this, and he is going to try to the inside, but yeah, Volakongan tries to outbreak and send one back down the inside. The room was given to him, but yeah, he just did not have the grip to compete with Snack there. The gap down to 12.7 between Alex Marciano and Tony Reich. And now Snack has been released. He can try and get himself away from Volokongan. I think Volokongan might be looking good for a P5 finish. Of course, Oxtu might have to come back into the pits as well for a 2-stop. But everyone else in behind Volokongan, other than the likes of Max and Typical, and Digio, to be fair, I don't see anyone else catching up to Volokongan. I mean, these three are the only ones potentially who have the opportunity to catch up to Volokongan. But I just think Volokongan's got such a gap, it's going to be difficult for any of them to catch up. But 11.2 the gap now between Alex Marciano and Tony Reich, and Estrella there getting the fastest lap of the race, and he's going to look to the inside line. And the switchback there from Tony Reich. Is it going to be enough as we run down in towards turn number 2? No, but they're still side by side. And the time that Snack is going to gain because of the side by side action there is a good half a second. So the battling is going to bring Snack into this. Maybe that is Estrella's plan to get Snack into this fight. But they also have to focus on bringing that gap down to Alex Marciano, who's off the track. Alex Marciano off the track in the grass. What has gone on there with the ET8 man? We've just gone on board with him, and he was doing some lawn mowing off the track in the grass. Alex Marciano, and that gap now is down to 6.4, 6.3. The gap. I was gonna say I'm not sure they're gonna be catching Alex Marciano quick enough by the end of this race, as Alex Marciano there goes off into the grass, loses a whole heap of time in this race, and now the podium is under serious threat for ET8 here. Wow, wow, wow. As there goes Max through on KJ. Will Typical try to follow him through? Yes, he does. Tries to outbreak. Alex Marciano, 3-second time penalty for him. Alex Marciano is going from bad to worse for the ET8 man. The race has literally just been turned on his head in the space of one lap. Alex Marciano in the grass, losing about 5 seconds in terms of lap time, and then picking up a 3-second time penalty. He has pretty much confined himself now to potentially P4. But if these guys, I mean, Volokongan has the fresher tyres versus Alex Marciano. If these guys battle Alex Marciano enough when they catch up to him, can Volokongan maybe get a jump on him? I mean, I don't know. Alex Marciano is making mistake after mistake at the moment, and it's really costing him in this race. 3.5 the gap between Estrella and Alex Marciano here. As Digio gets through on KJ, as we see Max and Typical there, a bit of contact on the exit of turn 1 as Typical gets through, and he will now begin this charge against Oxku. And I mean, I think the gap's a bit too big now to catch Volokongan, but never say never. We just saw what happened to Alex Marciano there. One mistake and he's lost a whole heap of time. And one mistake leads to a second mistake, as we saw with the 3-second time penalty picked up for the ET8 man. Alex Marciano is going to get jumped on penalties by both Estrella and Tony Reich. He does have the gap to Snack at the moment, but for how much longer? Tony Reich has a little bit of a half look down in towards turn number 1. Does not commit though. Now the question is, what does Alex Marciano do? Because we've seen Oxtu really get his elbows out in this race. Is Alex going to go with that same strategy and get his elbows out? Time will tell. Estrella is now there in DRS range. I mean, the perfect thing for Estrella is to get the job done on the DRS straight, and Tony Risha unable to get the job done. That would be the perfect scenario for Estrella, because it gives Estrella now the chance to build a gap. But a rear lock up there for Estrella is going to hinder that. And I think Tony Risha is now close enough to the back that he can follow Estrella through here. But out of the corner will come Estrella and Tony Risha. And there goes Estrella, going to get through. Alex Marciano is going to tuck in for P2. And is he going to be able to get this job done down the inside? He'll go. Yes, he does. Alex Marciano, though, is going to fight back on the exit. He's going to use the ERS, but the DRS is going to be there for Tony Risha. Contact made. Alex Marciano goes for a bit of a half spin, but holds on to the car. And the gap now between Alex Marciano and Snack is down to 2.2. But I think that has now just sealed a minimum of a P2 for Tony Risha. He had to follow Estrella through, and he did do so. Because Snack, look how much time Snack has caught Alex Marciano up in this middle sector. If Tony Risha had been stuck behind the ETA driver through the middle sector, Snack would be literally within potential of making this a 1-2 for TF10. But now we got a straight fight between Estrella and Tony Risha. Snack is going to try everything he can to get through on Alex Marciano here as soon as possible. As we got Max and Oxtu now battling it out. Typical has got through and he's got clear. 9.4 the gap to him and Volokongan. I think Volokongan is in a good spot. Sitting safe right now is the Shazoo man. But here comes Max as he's going to look to try and get through. And he's going to be followed by Digio. Oh, onto the curb goes Max. Squeeze to the outside line by Orsku. And Orsku now going to defend from Digio Key here as Digio looks for a switchback. Tries it around the outside. Contact made again. And here comes Max back through on Digio. More contact made. Digio down the inside into turn number 4. Contact made again. And here comes Digio back through on Max as Max is it is getting very tasty right now in this battle for P7 on track. Oxtu is really throwing absolute caution to the wind in terms of the defensive work, and he's making the drivers work for it. Max had to go down the inside into turn 4. He had so much overspeed, but he was unable to get it done. Back up towards the front. Here comes Snack on Alex Marciano here. Down the inside he'll go. Alex Marciano will try to defend this, of course, but he's unable to do so. KJ 3-second time penalty. Snack now up into P3, and he's lost 2 seconds by being stuck behind Alex Marciano in the past 2 laps. But back to this battle. Ox2 now is under serious pressure from Digio Key as he's going to squeeze Digio to the outside curb. Contact made between the pair of them again. And Digio is going to get through as Max is going to try. Oh, contact made there as also goes into the back of Digio Key. I'll tell you what, this is a great performance for LR here with Typical and Digio both inside the top 7. A great performance from them. I don't think that should be understated, the performance right there. Estrella has broken DRS range to Tony Risha up ahead as well. As Ox2 is been battling so much that we got KJ now in the mix, and KJ's just going to breeze past Max here, and Max now falling down the order, but he's going to try back around the outside. Brilliant stuff there from Max to get himself back up in the P9. The grip was there on those hard compound tyres, but now Oxcu is beginning to form a train, and Oxcu's into the pit lane. Oxcu is into the pit lane, and I'm assuming this will be for the fastest lap of the race, as that is going to be releasing the likes of Max and KJ now. But yeah, Max's race, essentially he was fighting with Typical and Diggy O'Key for P6, but now he finds himself down in P8 defending from KJ, and Gaten now on the back, same with Lucas. So Evolution Racing Team now starting to come back into it, could get a double top 10 finish here with the penalty situation, but that definitely would have been a warning right there for Lucas. That definitely would have been a warning. But it looks like at this moment in time, it's going to be a double podium for TF10. Estrella has gapped Tony Reich. 1.6 is the gap. And that, if that continues to extend, it could be a good day for TF10. In the chat, Joyful saying, not gonna lie, KJ's one stop is cooking. I mean, KJ right now, I mean, you're seeing the fact that Max has broken away from KJ, but KJ with the one stop has been slightly benefited by the fact that we had Oxcu there defending like an absolute animal out there on track, and allowed KJ to get himself back into it. Now we got Gideon and Lucas now on the back of KJ, and I have a feeling that the grip on these tyres is just going to fall away from KJ, but he might be able to help Lucas here, and I think that would be more beneficial for KJ to help his teammate out. As we're about to begin the penultimate lap of the race, Estrella 2-second lead to Tony Reich in second place. Then we got Snack in P3 completing the podium, a double TF10 podium. Alex Marciano in P4 right now. 4.7, 4.6 the gap to Volokongan in behind. Remember, Volokongan does not have a time penalty. Alex does. Alex's tyres are older than Volokongan's as well. 1.6 seconds is what Volokongan needs in these final two laps to get that P4 off of Alex Marciano here. As Gaten not close enough on KJ, but closes right up underneath braking. That's the rear lock to avoid going into the back of the... Oh, Lucas is in the wall! And that is Lucas's hopes of a top 10 finish out of the window. Front wing damage. Oxcu with the fastest lap of the race, as to be expected there. But Lucas dropping it on traction. And Volokongan's got the gap down now to 4 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, the battle for P4 is now on. Alex Marciano, he's got 2 lap older tyres than Volokongan. Volokongan has used a bit of ERS. Alex does have more ERS at his disposal, but he's got the older tyres. Half a second is now in it. P4 is on the line. Will it be ET8? Will it be Shazoo for P4 as we go on to the final lap of the race? As the gap is down to 3.2, I think Volokongan, the late grip he has is just fantastic, as Oxcu and Lucas trading positions. Honestly, penultimate lap of the race, I'm surprised more people didn't come in to go for the fastest lap in the end. As Gaten tries to outbrake, tries to go clean around the outside. He does get the traction on the outside, but he's not close enough to go for the move. In behind though, RWB versus Rev Rob. And it looks like that is going to stay as it is for the time being. But back up towards the front He's driven absolutely fantastic today, and he is going to take the race victory out on track for TF10. It is Estrella with the race win. Tony Rees will come home to consolidate P2 in this race, as we got Snack collecting that final podium, making it a TF10 double podium right there. Estrella and Snack on the podium. Alex Marciano will come across the line in P4, but you'll lose that to Volokongan, who will jump up into P4. Alex Marciano for ET8 in P5. Typical will come through to take home P6 just ahead of his teammate in P7. A great day for Legacy Racing here, as Max will come through in P8, but will he stay there? The penalties are now in fray. Gearton has run out of fuel, and that's going to allow Rev Rob to jump him on the line, and he'll get KJ as well. RWB will jump him also. Ivan will come through in P13, gets jumped by Ostu, and then we'll have Justin now to cross the line with no fuel. He'll jump up into P14. Ivan there in 15th. And then, of course, Lucas, what could have been for him? What could have been indeed, as he drops it towards the end of the race. And that, unfortunately, is him crossing the line in 16th place with no points on the board. What a race that was here in Hungary. Estrella, absolutely tremendous pace from the TF10 driver. It's a double TF10 podium with the Shazoo Cedar Igniters driver of Tony Reich completing that podium. But let's run you through the order one more time. It is Estrella with the race win ahead of Tony Reich in second place. Snack making it a double TF10 podium in P3 with Volokongan coming through with the one stop to get P4. Alex Marciano, what could have been without the mistakes for him in P5. Then, of course, typical, a great race for him in P6 with Digio in P7. Max in P8 with Rev Rob in P9. KJ completing the top 10. And then, of course, RWB in 11th. Gearton in 12th. Osku with the fastest lap in 13th. Justin in 14th. And Ivan in 15th. Lucas, the final finisher, in 16th. Now, non-finishers were, of course, Daniel and I don't know who that is. That is some idiot right there. Who is that in the Ferrari? We don't know. We don't talk about it, guys. We do not talk about it. But what a race that was right there. TF10 with a big result. Big result. And of course, with the point system, of course, there's the top 15 that do get points. But TF10 picking up what is 30, I believe 38 points in total. Yes, because I believe they got pole position as well. Yeah, TF10 with 38 points in total from tonight. And that is an 8-point gain on Shazoo, which is obviously Team Shazoo, they're going to be quite happy with that. Like, you know, Shazoo see the Igniters, they're going to be happy. An 8-point loss to TF10. They're not going to be too worried about that one. But of course, the standings with ET8 is going to get very tasty now with TF10. That is for sure. And a quick reminder of what the standings were looking like coming into tonight's race. It was Shazoo leading by 66 points as they had 86 points to TF10. The only team that outscored them here tonight. Evolution Racing has definitely dropped some points to Legacy Racing here tonight. And that is going to be big for them in their fight to try and get themselves P4 in the championship. Ground Effect Spec Racing, Alien Motorsports and All Elite Racing Team, along with Azuri Esports, continue their battle for P6. And Bravo Racing Club also there as well, but they would have dropped just a little bit behind now with no drivers fielded for tonight. Guys, looking at where we're heading to next. Round number 8. The home of British motorsports. We head to Silverstone. And not only do we head to Silverstone, it is a sprint race. We had one for round number 5 in Azerbaijan at Baku. We're going to have one for round number 8 in Silverstone. Ladies and gentlemen, the British weather can always be a bit techie. It can always be a bit treacherous. Will it be a wet race or a wet sprint race in Silverstone? Well, it's only one way to find out, and of course that will be next week, of course. But before we wrap things up for tonight, again, a massive shout out to our sponsors and partners here at CTC, where of course is Pivot Media, of course the digital marketing agency to improve your brand. Of course, check out their X in the description, of course, offering graphic and video designers to improve your brand and business. And then, of course, Virtual Setup Engineer, the brand new setup shop for your setup needs, offering setups, so all the tracks, custom chat box, and that, so you can customize the setups to your driving styles, and of course to a Gridfinder as well. Guys, that has been it for round number 7. I have been Michael Edwards. Next week we'll catch you for Silverstone. This time, hopefully, I won't be on the grid. I won't be on the grid for Silverstone, hopefully. But guys, we will catch you for round number 8 in a week's time at Silverstone. Until then, it is goodbye from me. Goodbye.